In March 2021, global trade ground to a sudden halt. A massive container ship had wedged itself diagonally across the Suez Canal, completely severing one of the world's most vital economic arteries. To see the scale of the problem, you have to look at the Ever Given itself. At 400 meters long, it is roughly the size of the Empire State Building laid on its side, carrying a staggering 20,000 shipping containers. That single blockage trapped over 400 other cargo ships in a massive maritime traffic jam. The delay bled an estimated $9.6 billion from the global economy. Every single day it remained stuck in the sand. Initial reports blamed the grounding purely on the weather, pointing to a freak sandstorm and severe 40-knot winds that pushed the giant ship off course. The grounding was actually the result of cultural friction and human error that had been building long before the 40-knot winds arrived. Roughly 12% of all global trade passes through the Suez Canal, making it a high-stakes environment overseen by the Suez Canal Authority. Despite forecasts warning of terrible weather, the authority permitted the Ever Given to enter the waterway. In the modern shipping industry, there is an intense pressure to prioritize tight schedules over safety. That pressure extended to the ship's operator, Evergreen. They failed to provide the crew with adequate simulation training for navigating such a massive, heavily loaded vessel through a narrow canal. To make matters worse, the COVID-19 pandemic had restricted crew changes, trapping sailors at sea for drastically extended periods and causing intense psychological fatigue. Months of extended sea time and a lack of specialized training meant the crew entered the canal in a state of severe mental exhaustion. Up on the bridge, the command center where every critical transit decision is made, the atmosphere was already tense. You had an Indian crew working alongside local Egyptian pilots assigned to guide the ship through the canal. This created immediate communication barriers and cultural friction between the two teams. The command structure itself was dangerously ambiguous. In a crisis, it wasn't explicitly clear who had the final authority to make split-second decisions, the ship's captain or the local pilots. And the Ever Given had a history of struggling under pressure. Back in 2019, the ship was involved in a collision in Hamburg during severe winds, showing a clear pattern of poor command choices in adverse conditions. Instead of a united, highly coordinated team, the bridge was a fractured environment, ill-equipped to handle the sudden crisis that was about to hit them. When the 40-knot gusts finally struck, they acted against the massive wall of stacked containers like a giant sail, causing the ship to suddenly lose maneuverability. This animated diagram shows the squat effect. A massive ship moving quickly through a shallow canal displaces water, dropping pressure and pulling the ship downward. As it sinks, bank suction grabs the stern, yanking it toward the canal wall. Reacting in a panic, the bridge team issued hard helm orders, extreme steering corrections that wildly overcompensated for the shifting physics. Those overcorrections, combined with the heavy winds and water pressure, drove the enormous bow of the ship directly into the sandy embankment. The unforgiving laws of hydrodynamics took control, but only because an exhausted leadership team allowed the vessel to proceed into a dangerous situation to begin with. It took 6 days of frantic dredging and excavation around the clock before the Ever Given was finally refloated on March 29th. With the ship moving again, attention shifted to the massive backlog of over 400 vessels and a global supply chain disruption that would take months to resolve. With proper risk assessment, the passage could have been paused. The final authority to delay the transit lay solely with the ship's captain, making this disaster entirely preventable. The fallout forced an industry-wide reckoning. Shipping operators revised their safety protocols and placed a much-needed focus on crew readiness. We rely on a hyper-optimized global infrastructure every single day. That entire system is remarkably fragile, resting on the mental well-being and clear judgment